Hey there, greetings and welcome back to my cybersecurity show. Today we are talking about a new certification. Yay, we like certifications, right? Well, because, maybe we do, maybe we don't. They have their pros and cons, don't they? But today, if you've ever heard of a little tool called Burp Suite, the good people out there that make that software known as Portswigger have released, that's right, a Burp Suite certification. And I thought, hey, what better thing for us to talk about, because it's such a pertinent thing to what we do, what we want to do, and what we're going to do, that, it's a very good idea for us to get the odds and ends, the ins and outs of what's going on with this new certification. I think it came out, I saw it this week, so maybe that's when it dropped. I'm not 100% on that, but I just kind of want to walk through what it's about, what to expect on the exam, how to get signed up, what are the details of being successful, and learn a little bit about it and kind of hit those highlights for you out there. So if it's something that you haven't heard of before, well, hopefully you're hearing about it right now. And if you have heard of it and you're thinking, you know what, I wanted to check into that a little more, hey, let me do the heavy lifting for you. You just watch this video and you'll get some of those details of getting signed up for the Burp Suite Certified Practitioner, the BSCP, if I'm not mistaken. That said, let us jump into the queue. But before we do that, before we get that far, if you would be so kind as to find that subscribe button, give that a smash. Don't forget the like and the notification bell so that you can make sure that you are apprised of whenever I release a new video. All right, enough of that business. Let's get down to it. Let me grab the old computer screen. There it is right there. Hey, look at that. We're at portswigger.net. And here is a lot of great information. If you've never been to portswigger.net before, pause the video and kind of hang out in here. There's a lot of really good information. If you've never worked with Burp Suite before, I highly recommend you download the Community Edition, get it installed, and just start working your way through the interface and maybe reading some documentation, because if you want to do web application penetration testing, Burp Suite is recognized as the standard tool, right? At least the vast majority of web app testers are probably going to be using Burp Suite. So we want to make sure that we're apprised of that. And as you can see right here, Portswigger products help more than 50,000 professionals at over 14,000 organizations. Man, way to pump it, because and it's a great tool. I've used both the pro version and the community version pretty extensively. They're both great. If you just want to get going, that community version is going to be great, and it's free. Download, install, and rock it out. It's pretty straightforward, and it has a lot of functionality to it. But if you're going to make a job of this, if you want to be a professional web app pen tester, bug bounty hunter, that kind of thing, I highly recommend you getting a subscription to the Burp Suite Pro. And we'll talk a little bit about that just coming up, because that's going to play a role into what we're talking about today, which is the BSCP, right? BCSP, the Burp Suite, BSCP, I believe it is called. So if we scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that there's this area here that says everything you need to stay ahead, software and expertise for everybody who needs to secure the web. They've got testing, right? So if you want to play with Burp Suite, that's where you would want to go. They even have training, FREE, free, my favorite price, free $99. So we got some great training here. I love it. I've signed up for the Web Security Academy back when it was the Portswigger Academy. So if I conflate the two things, forgive me, because I'm just so used to that. But a lot of really great. Did I mention free? Let me free training, everybody. Free, right? So definitely sign up for that. Learn everything you can, because it's very pertinent. Doing web application penetration testing is just kind of almost a given, at least the basics of it. If you want to be a successful cybersecurity person, whether you're going to be on a blue team or red team, and anywhere therein, you need to know that stuff, right? So a Web Security Academy is going to be a great place to get some free resources. And even if you're already training, I don't tell you to ditch the training you already have. Maybe you've got a Udemy course. Maybe you're on a subscription-based learning program like myself. That's what I do for a living. I train, and it's through a subscription base. If you're doing those things, this is going to be a great supplement to that. If you're doing this, those things would be a great supplement to this. Every perspective which you can come from is going to be a good idea, and get as much training as you can, especially if it's free. There's no reason not to go through it and to just continue to expand your skill set. So I'll get off my soapbox. Sign up for that. It's great. It's free. All right. Other thing we have is Portswigger research. Learn about the latest security exploits and stay ahead of emerging threats. As you can see, Portswigger is really lending themselves to being a great resource for cybersecurity professionals. We got this daily swig area, and then right here, here's what we've come to. This is what the purpose of this video is right here. That's right. It is certified. The Burp Suite Certified Practitioner. Take control of your security career and become a Burp Suite Certified Practitioner. Find out more. Absolutely. Let's find out more. Let's click that old button. And here you go. Get Burp Suite certified for $99. Now, there are many certifications out there. I can tell you from experience, depending on how it works out, there's so many different types of models where training is bundled with the certification voucher or whatever. This isn't that way. At least it doesn't seem to be. It's not a bundle. You can just pay your $99 and take the exam. As far as exam prices go, that is fairly reasonable. I think that absolutely is true. Some caveats to that, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. But for 99 bones, you can get a ticket to ride this train and maybe become Burp Suite Certified Practitioner, right? So take control of your security career. A bunch of marketing stuff going on here about how great it is and how this is an extremely important piece of software that all these professionals use. We got more than 50,000 security professionals worldwide are using this stuff, talking about turning self-taught skills into accreditation. Honestly, I like this. And while, yes, this is marketing and it's trying to like sell you on spend your $99 with us, it is doing a good job of building that value, at least in my estimation, because there is no, as far as I know, there's no specific, like, this is official Burp Suite training, other than maybe the Web Security Academy. That's about as close as it comes. I think that's about as close as it comes to official Portswigger stamp of approval, Burp Suite stamp of approval. This is, would probably be here. There are a lot of great training. There is a lot of great training out there. I teach and talk about how to use Burp Suite in my courses. I know like Heath Adams stuff with TCM is good. There's a bunch of training out there that will teach you how to use this thing. Udemy courses galore. Heck, just go to YouTube and that can be there. Maybe that's something I'll do. We'll see if I have the time. It's a bit of a beast, but maybe we'll tackle that beast. You never know. If I'm feeling strong, I could definitely put that out there for you. Maybe at least some basics. But anyway, I digress. But the idea here is that you're turning those self-taught skills into accreditation. Showcase the high standard of your security testing and advance your personal career, right? So what does certification mean for me? I do like this part because it talks about basically some of those skills that you are proving with the certification. Because there's no more, this isn't going to be the idea of just, hey, I know how to use Burp Suite, and you put that on your resume, right? This is, I absolutely know how to use Burp Suite, and Portswigger recognizes the fact that I know how to use Burp Suite effectively and usefully, because I now am sticking it in here with my lovely little certification. My badge is on my social channels, and you can verify that. So I like that. That is what certifications. So that is what certifications are meant to do. Certifications are meant to provide some sort of proof from a third party that the skills that you say that you have are actual and not just, hey, I can do that. And you're not just making that up. I mean, we've seen the idea of, and this is very common now. Let's say you and get called in for an interview to become some sort of penetration tester, vulnerability assessor, that kind of stuff. A lot of them now are requiring candidates to take their own. So I'm going to XYZ company. XYZ company has a position open for a pen tester. I go for the interview and they'll give me their own exam to see what I know, to make sure that the skills that I put on my resume line up with reality, that I actually know that stuff in some real way. Unfortunately, I have seen people with certifications, right? With certifications that are unable to be successful in those entrance exams for job placements. So that tells me something about how those people may have gotten their certifications. Maybe it wasn't through the most uprightness of ways or means, or maybe they were just really good at taking a test. And I've experienced that as well. I'm a horrible test taker. I am one of the worst test takers. I hate taking exams. And because of that, I kind of I don't really care whether or not I pass them in a lot of ways. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Just depends. But ultimately, I just want the knowledge. And if the certification is going to prove that knowledge, then I'll probably be a little more invested in passing the exam. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if I'm happy with the fact that I've increased my skill level and capabilities, then I'm pretty happy with that. And that's what I really want, because if I don't have the skills but I pass the exam, it kind of speaks poorly for the exam. It kind of speaks poorly for me. You know what I mean? So certifications that truly prove things are good. And that's why we're seeing a lot more practical certifications. And we'll get into the idea of this being practical in just a moment. But this is a practical exam as well. Let's go back to this thing and talk about what it's actually meant to prove. Detect and prove the full business impact of a wide range of common web vulnerabilities, such as cross-site scripting, SQL injection, the lovely OWASP top 10, HTTP request smuggling. Adapt your attack methods to bypass broken defenses. Use your knowledge of fundamental web technologies like HTTP, HTML. So you got to have some pretty good skill level to be able to go through this, it seems. Quickly identify weak points within an attack surface, perform out-of-band attacks, and attack them using manual tools to aid exploitation. So this is definitely a hands-on thing. I do like this here. Excellent stuff, good information, and your certification is valid for 5 years. All right, what does that tell me? That tells me that they expect this information that you know and have applied to be valid and relevant to the cybersecurity job space for at least 5 years, right? And that's good, because I hate certifications that are just versioning for the sake of making money. Right, I loathe that. I think that is a detriment to the space. The certification starts to me, in my mind, lowers in value because of that. Because now you're just throwing stuff at us. Oh, I hope you're staying on top of things because I've got a whole new bevy of tools and to do the same old techniques that we've done in the past, and maybe a new technique here and there, or maybe another focus like we'll just introduce cloud. We'll just take the old exam. Basically the same thing, add some new tools, and we're going to introduce containerization. Okay. That doesn't really seem to be a good reason to version your certification. Not in my estimation. Really take some time. Don't just let it be. I've got nothing against people making money. Right? We need money. We want to, pay our bills and do things with our loved ones and live an enriched, fulfilled life. And money can be helpful with that. But when your goal in life and your motivation behind what it is you're doing, i.e. creating a certification that's supposed to help people, just becomes about making money, you lose credibility in my mind, at least in a large way. So I don't like certs that do that. I'm not going to really bash and talk and call them out by name right now. All out there probably know which ones we're talking about. You've experienced them. You don't like that. So the fact that we come here and we see we've got a certificate that's valid for 5 years, that's a long good time. It can be shared with employees, obviously. After 5 years, though, your certificate will be marked as expired, but will remain accessible. So there you go. I think to me, that's a good selling point. 5-year expiration date is really good. And that tells me that the web space, the web application space, specifically Portswigger, they feel like they've made a certification that will last that 5 years. It's giving you that shelf life. That's their expectation anyway. A little parched. I'm going to take a sip. Excellent. All right. Then you can get your certification today. Let's see here. Yeah, it's all great. Talking about all that great stuff. Then how do I get certified? There's exam preparation. Good information here. Talks about how you need to be able to complete all the apprentice and practitioner level labs. And if you dig into the deepness of that, which we will in just a second, basically like you need to know that stuff. If you're able to do those things, you should be good to go. Don't cheat yourself though. Then you take a practice exam. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to take this exam, take a practice exam, because I want to see what that's like. I'm not going to film myself taking the practice exam because that kind of defeats the purpose of practice exams. For you out there, I don't want to like give you the answers or whatever. I want you to have that experience yourself, and that's part of practice exam experience. But I do want to speak to my experience behind it. So I will take that, and that'll be a follow-up. That'll be my next video, is speaking to that. And if anything I can show you, I'll show you. Okay? So, but also a great resource, right? You have practice exams to lean on, see where you're at, gauge where your weaknesses are and your strengths, and adjust accordingly so that you can be successful when you finally pull the trigger, pay that money, and sit the exam, which is the next phase, which is purchase your certificate exam and sit the cost. So there you go. And it's $100. We did see that before. Anything else that we need to know here? How should I prepare for the exam? Well, it does say that it is challenging and heavily focused on problem solving. To pass the exam, you will need to demonstrate a number of skills and abilities. We have created a number of resources to help you. This is what I love. To me, let me just get up here. To me, this is doing it right. It's not just, hey, learn Burp Suite, and then if you feel like you know how to do that, give us $100 and we'll let you sit in an exam. Oh, you failed. Too bad. Try again. Hopefully you're successful next time, right? That is not what they do. They are giving us a really good blueprint, and I have kind of walked through this. They do give us a really good blueprint for being successful. They're trying to steer us in the right way. It's not about tricks or puzzles or things like that. It's all about, do you have the ability to use Burp Suite effectively to find and exploit known vulnerabilities? That's what it's all about. If you can do that, you're going to pass the exam, or at least that's what they're saying based off of their documentation here. So I like that. To me, again, another great selling point. Let's keep going. How do I prepare for the exam? How do I get my certification? How do I take practice exams? Obviously, here's about booking and then validation. Here's where I want to go next, right here. How do you get your certification? Right? This is a great resource for this. This actually has a ton of great information. Let's go over some of the highlights here. Here's an overview talking about how they're using this company called Examity, which is how they proctor the exam and verify the test taker, making sure you are who you say you are and that you're not going to cheat. Kind of goes through that. Talking about system requirements. Interesting enough, you can't use Linux on this, so got to have a Windows or Mac OS. At least that's what they say. Yes, they do have a proctoring service, which is going to be Examity, and how they're going to check your ID. You're going to actually be recorded, but you can. It looks like you do this from home. It looks like you just do it through, find a quiet place, and get some alone time, and take your exam. Not allowed to talk to people though, because that would be considered cheating. Let's see here. You create a user profile, obviously. Then we take the exam. Here's a little bit about taking exam access. This is really actually really good information about the exam itself, right? This is definitely some highlight stuff. So you're going to hit the take exam button once you've logged into Portswigger. That's going to take you to Examity. Once you get to Examity, you'll get verified. Once you get verified, you'll get a verification unique code and your exam will begin. Then you have 3 hours to complete the practitioner exam. Each application contains deliberate vulnerabilities. which means it can be completed in 3 stages. And this is important. Access any user account, step 1. And they're going to go on to talk about how this is how they expect you to do this. You should access a user account first. That is your first and primary goal. So you've already got like a framework of which you follow. I know my goals and the steps to my goals. So A, I'm going to be looking for some regular user accounts that I can manipulate, exploit, do something with, gain access through that account. I'm going to have a low-level account first, and then stage 2 is going to be use my user account to gain admin access, either to the /interface or the /admin interface for the web application, or by elevating privileges of a compromise or compromising the administrator account directly. Right? Then stage 3, use the admin interface to read the contents of a specific file, which is called secret, which is located in /home/Carlos/secret. That lets me know it's going to be running on Linux platform, right? Because that's how that works. It might be Windows. They could just be being generic, but it's probably Linux, Apache, Nginx, that kind of stuff. And that's on the file system. And then you read that and you submit it as your solution and you're good. Right? It says there's always an administrator account with the username administrator. Great. Plus a lower level or lower privileged account called Carlos. So there's going to be some definite things. You're going to go in with knowledge. This isn't like a super black box test where you're coming from the outside and you know nothing. You've already got 2 user accounts that you know for a fact. It's not admin. It's not root. It's not, Big Dog 75 or whatever. It's going to be administrator is the administrator account. The low-level user that is available on the system is going to be named Carlos. They're giving you information, right? Because it's not about whether or not you can enumerate users and things of that nature. It's about whether or not you can use Burp Suite, right? If you find a username enumeration vulnerability, you may be able to break into a lower privilege account. And this is money right here. They give you a username list and a password list to do any brute forcing. Again, not trying to make this a trick, a puzzle. Okay. Well, I've got to create a custom word list using X, Y, and Z tools and then add rules to that for my, that was my user accounts. And here's my word list is going to be, some sort of hybrid dictionary rules-based attack. You're not getting into that. It's just, hey, here's a username and password list. So if you need to do brute forcing, that's where you're going to go. I like it. Each application has up to 1 active user who will be logged in either as a user or as an administrator. You can assume that they visit the homepage every 15 seconds. All right? So what am I thinking here? This is going to be, session hijacking stuff because I'm going to be intercepting. They talked a lot about XSS and SQL injection and things like that already. So maybe there's a cross-site scripting vulnerability where I do a session hijacking or attack and steal cookies, session cookies. Use that to impersonate, log in, bam, I'm good, right? Clicks, let's see here, and clicks any link in emails they receive from an application. So if I send some sort of phishing email with a cross-site scripting attack inside of it, it will click any email links that it gets in an email because they've made Carlos one of the worst users on earth. Hey, unfortunately, that is the name of the game, right? You can exploit the server's send to victim functionality to target with reflected vulnerabilities. All right. If you find SSRF vulnerabilities, you can use it to read files by accessing internal-only services running on local ports. So they're giving you everything you need to be successful. They're not trying to trick you. I love that, right? Anything else? Host header attacks are fair game. There's some caveats to that. So don't really mess with that stuff. To understand the skills required to take this exam, please refer to the prepare for exam page. And let me just click on that. Make sure we don't miss anything. Is that what we're talking about now? Is that where we're at? It's the practice exam. So they kind of steer you toward the practice exam. This is designed to simulate the environment for the real test situation and cover a variety of vulnerability classes and exploits. Practice exam is there to allow to get you used to the format of the real exam. Again, right? They're not trying to, this is certification done right. I love that I'm seeing more and more of this lately. People are these organizations out there are finally getting it. eLearn Security, right? Great stuff there. TCM, they're doing amazing things with their practical. What is that? Oh man, I can't think of it. It's escaping me. They changed the name on me and it messes me up. Once I learn something, it's stuck there and I have a hard time reversing myself. TCM sec.com. What is the name of their exam again? It's like the PC certifications. There we go. What is the name of it? Why is my brain like... There we go. Practical Network Penetration of the PNPT. That's it, right? Another great exam. I did a video on that. You can see that here up in front of me. There you go. A great exam, by the way. Again, it being done right. So what do we know about the practice exams? Designed to basically get you prepared to take the real thing. So that's great. I love that. That way you go in, you take the exam. You're not going, I don't know what to expect. And I think that it just tells you that it's very similar to the lab environment inside of the Web Security Academy. Should also help you gauge the difficulty level of the exam. That's awesome. Therefore, judge for yourself whether you're at the required skill level. There are no restrictions on the amount of times you may take the practice exam. I would be wary of just like cranking through it until you've basically gone through every scenario they could give you, because then you're just kind of building up a false sense of security. So make sure that you train, learn, assimilate, take a practice exam, see where those strengths and weaknesses are, go back to training, build up on your weaknesses, and then take it again. Okay, and then if you do really well, you're good. If not, figure out what those weaknesses are, lather, rinse, repeat. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're gonna bump up against a wall when it comes to practice exams, to where you've kind of gone through it and you know everything, and you don't want to build up a false sense of security that you know what you're doing and you don't. So make sure that you take the time necessary and use it as the tool as it is intended, because I'd hate to see you not be successful because of a false sense of security, right? You also may quit this test simulation and begin again. That's cool. Note that you need, okay, so this is where we start to get to our first caveat. And that is that you need Burp Suite Pro to pass the exam challenges. So if you want to take these exams, you're going to need a Burp Suite Pro license. And that's where this game kind of changes, where we just went from $99 to, if you don't have Burp Suite Pro, you're about to tack on a little bit more, right? Because you have to purchase that. That is a purchase thing. So let's jump over to this tab here. Buy Burp Suite Pro Professional, the leading AST toolkit for application security engineers. And you fill out your information, you get your 1-year subscription, and then there's your ticket price. Hopefully it's not shocking you too bad. It's $400. Now, you might have just, whoa, Daniel, you did not say, well, I didn't, hey, this is not up to me. I don't make the rules here. But you've now went from $100 to $500, right? So if you're like, oh, I didn't know that Burp Suite had a certification. That sounds really interesting. And I'll take that. $99, no big deal. But you can't use Burp Suite Community. You need Burp Suite Pro. If you don't have Burp Suite Pro, you won't be successful. So, or at least that's what they're telling us. Now, maybe their certification is a marketing ploy to get more people to buy a Burp Suite Pro certification. Very well may be. It definitely is reasonable to think that. Now, that said, Burp Suite Pro is, like we talked about before, the gold standard of application testing software for web applications. So you're getting a high value for your $400. And if you're going to get into this as a business, right, if this is going to be your career, you're going to do web application penetration testing, you're going to do bug bounty hunting, I would suggest getting a Burp Suite Pro. It's for what you're getting and what you can do with it. It is worth. Any bug bounty hunter out there would probably tell you, yeah, that juice is worth the squeeze. go ahead, grab you a copy. But it's $400. I think that's a good value for what you are getting, like I've said. But it does increase that if I've decided I'm going to take this test and I don't have Burp Suite Pro, it's really not $100 for me. It's really $500 because I have to purchase the exam voucher and Burp Suite Pro subscription so that I can do what I spent the $100 on, right? I need to spend $400 so that I can effectively spend another $100 and take my exam. So just keep that in mind. This might need to get you going to where you have a goal. So if this is financially like out of your range at this point in time, that's fine. Don't feel bad about that. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Not everybody has a bunch of money. I know I'm not swimming in it. That's for sure. But these are tools of our trade. If I was a carpenter or like a machinist or something like that, I would need to eventually purchase quality tools for me to be able to do my job. And this would definitely be one of them. This is the hammer, the saw, and the screwdriver of a carpenter that would need these things to be effective and good at their job. Quality tools that won't break, that don't have problems, that do a good job. So if I'm cutting with the saw, it leaves clean edges, it cuts straight, it's not warped, it doesn't bind, those kind of things, right? That's what I'm thinking of when I'm using a tool. If I'm a web application tester, I want something that is going to be fast. I want it to be effective. I want it to have a lot of functionality that works well. It doesn't crash. It's supported. If there was an issue, I can go to the support team and say, hey, I'm having trouble. There's a problem. It's not working, and they will work with me and things of that nature, right? So spending that money in the long run is worth it. If you're just wanting to take the exam and you're really just looking to add a cert, that to me wouldn't be worth it, right? If you just want to put that badge on your LinkedIn profile, I don't know if $500 is worth that, just to put a badge on your profile. Look at me, look what I have done, right? But if you're like, I'm going to be a web application penetration tester, or that's going to be a main avenue of my job, something that I want to showcase that I can do, then all of a sudden that becomes a realistic goal, right? So do what you got to do, maybe get a side hustle, sell some things that are just sitting around so that you can work your way up and purchase this. It is a good purchase. There are other free options, something like owasp app, but that's not going to get you this certification. So that said, be prepared. I wonder if they monitor that. I don't know. They probably do, since this is a proctored exam, and if they see you using a different tool, obviously you're not proving your skills with Burp Suite at that point in time, and they would, thing. But I haven't seen anything in here, any of these tabs we've clicked about that, right? So just be aware, $400 is the ticket price to ride to get that Burp Suite Pro. And then here's the buy your Burp Suite certification area. And there's your extra $100. So this is going to be a $500 package from start to finish, okay? In some way, shape, or form. Maybe that's done at once. Maybe that's done in piecemeal, whatever. So you buy the Burp Suite Pro, train, get ready, and then purchase your exam so you can kind of offset $100. You don't have to do $500 at one time. You can just do the $400 for Burp Suite Pro, and then when you're ready, you drop the next 100 bones for your exam. But a couple of ways in which you could go at it. All right, so that's the practice exam. Anything else we need to know? Just talking about Burp Suite Pro there. So really good info on this page. This is that web security /certification /how to prepare. All this is clickable links from basically this page. That's just how to prepare. Let's go back here. In hints, see, here you go. This is a page you're going to want to spend a little time on. We're expecting 3 stages to be completed in order. Just checking my time here. That means if you're in an application attempting to break in the admin interface, it's a waste of time if you haven't got access to a user account. So there is those proper steps. Remember, we had those step 1, 2, and 3, or phase 1, 2, and 3, whatever they said. Likewise, we do not recommend attempting reading files unless you have access to the admin account. Okay. We restrict outbound traffic from the vulnerable servers to the internet, so it's kind of firewalled off. Just trying to give you a good exam experience that you can do from here. A couple of things that are available. the integrated exploit server, the burp collaborator.net. You can use the integrated exploit server to deliver any kind of payload to the vulnerable application or simulated user. To progress through the stages, you not only need to identify vulnerabilities, but also exploit them. And so it's not just about finding them, it's about actual exploitation. For example, you find an XSS, doing the whole, script tag, alert, you got pwned, close script tag, and it popping up. Great, you found it, but that's not the end of the game. You now need to utilize that cross-site scripting vulnerability to actually exploit a user, whatever, right? It's probably going to be a user. It's a reflected vulnerability, right? Maybe it's a DOM-based, maybe it's a whatever, right? You just gotta be able to figure that out. So let's see here. If you do SQL injection, you need to just extract the credentials. You don't need the whole thing. That's what it goes into, right? It's like, don't need to worry about tedious dumping of all the database. Just get the things you need, and all the local files and everything are easily guessable. So it's not a puzzle. Excuse me. People do not name their password column, Homer Simpson. And then you have to go, well, Homer Simpson's weird. So maybe Homer Simpson has something in it. Let me look at that. Oh, and now it's all, it's not trying to do that. It's going to be called passwords. It's going to be easy stuff, right? So easily guessable, require just a couple of minutes to manually extract a password or password token. So if you grab those passwords and you need to do any kind of password attack on them, it should just take a couple of minutes and you're done. Scanning selected pages and insertion points often help you quickly progress to the exam. Attempting a full application scan will not be feasible, so it's going to be very limited in scope and size, just to try to make the time limit, because I think it was said it was 3 hours. So 3-hour exam, it's a practical exam. You get 3 hours, you're going to work through your way through a couple of web applications, find some vulnerabilities, exploit said vulnerabilities, and submit your solutions, and you're done. The victim is running Chromium, so when you're using an XSS cheat sheet, focus on vectors that work on Chrome. If your XSS attacks work in the Chrome or Burp Suite browser, chances are it works on the victim, so that's good to know. Again, not trying to trick you, they're just trying to give you the help you need to be successful. That's what it's about. Can you use Burp Suite? Not can you figure out all this other stuff that goes with it. I like that. Let's see here. Although some vulnerabilities are tricky to find, we do not intentionally hide files or pages that contain them. You never need to guess folders, file names, or parameter names. Excellent. We get into some requirements. Identification requirement, obviously, that makes sense. And you can walk through that. It's just basically proving you are who you say you are. Exam conditions. You must not communicate or attempt to communicate with anyone during the exam. We advise taking the practice exam under similar conditions, just so you know what that's like. You're talking about your proficiency and skill. If you want to be successful, you must be able to complete the practitioner labs and lower. We already seen that. This is, the language is in English. System requirements are going to be Mac OS 10.5 or higher, Windows Vista or higher, and Chrome OS. Those are what you want. And it looks like Chromium-based browsers like Google Chrome and anything like that's going to be where you're going to go. And please disable your pop-up blocker. Your hardware can be desktop or laptop. Needs a built-in or external webcam, a built-in or external microphone, or a built-in or a built-in external speakers. So that's probably for the proctoring. Please note that tablets and mobile devices are not supported. Good to know. Have a decent internet, because you're working on the internet. And it needs to be proctored, so there you go. 2 megabyte up and down is suggested. Hotspots are not. Software, Burp Suite Pro, we figured that out already. Your exam results will be emailed to you. If you successfully pass, you'll also have an email with your certificate in it that you should get. So it seems like it's 2 separate emails. If you fail, you get the same thing. You get an email, tells you you failed. So there's no wondering, did I do well, or did I pass, or did I fail? If you successfully pass, you become BSCP certified. Make sure you let the world know, add it to your social channels, so there'll be badging available to you, which is great. I like that stuff. And there you go. That's the overview. So there you go. Whew. A lot of info on this thing. It's pretty Straightforward. I like that. I think this is, let's talk about whether or not this has the value that they're trying to present. I think on one hand, there is some markety to it, right? It does seem like they're just, and I say just, that's not fair. It does seem like they are trying to sell more Burp Suite Pro licenses and creating a certification, which they can also sell, can do a good job of that. So it's kind of like that. Let me bring you in for $99. Doesn't that sound reasonable? It does. Tell me more. You need Burp Suite Pro. Okay, that's cool. What's that? That's $400. So now it's just $500. That's what you're saying? 500. Well, don't think of it like that. Think of it as yeah. So there's that marketing part of it to it. Again, I don't hold that against them too hardly. People need to make money. They want their company to grow and do well, and finding ways to make money is the whole purpose of being in business. So again, don't hold it against them. Maybe they should be a bit more upfront about it and kind of like put that out there. There's an argument to be made either way, maybe. Now, on the other side of things, do I think the $500 ticket price is worth it? The fact that it's $500, I think it's still, for me, in my opinion, I feel like it's still within the reasonable range. But just still inside of it. I would love to see, and there's probably going to be promotionals and things of that nature that you can take advantage of. Maybe you see a 50% off or a 30% off, a 20, anything percent off is better than nothing, right? So make sure you take advantage of those. Most companies do that. I would expect no less from Portswigger, that eventually there will be promo codes and that kind of thing that will help reduce that ticket price, making the overall thing a whole lot cheaper. If I think of it in the fact that if I'm going to be acting as like, I want to get into web application penetration testing, I want to get into bug bounties, that's what I'm going to do, then really it's a no-brainer that I would spend the $400 on Burp Suite Pro. Does owasp Zap compare enough? Can it do a reasonable job of replacing a Burp Suite Pro? That's a good question. Maybe that's another video that we need to have. I'm going to put that in my cool ideas for YouTube file of, let's see what kind of functionality we have in owasp Zap. Is it a viable replacement? Because it is free. Absolutely $0. I'd reach out. Anybody out there that's watching this that does bug bounty, web app testing, and has used owasp Zap, reach out to me. Let me know your experience. I'd love to hear that stuff, and I'm going to try to do some of my own research on that. I've used both. I think they both have their pros and cons. The last time I used owasp Zap, which wasn't that long ago, it was about 2 months ago, I was actually really impressed. So really stepping up their game. A lot of interesting new functionality in the latest version of Zap. So it could be a viable alternative, and it doesn't cost you nothing, but I don't get a certification, right? I can't say I use the gold standard Burp Suite Pro. I have a certification in Burp Suite Pro. So if I come to your shop, I'll be able to just drop right in and go to town, and start working and being effective and be, a good team member, because I'm now not having to learn the tool that you use because I was using something else. Maybe it just depends, right? So this is where we start trying to figure out whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. Is the value behind this? And that's going to be different for everybody, right? Those ideas are going to be different for everybody. When I have a free alternative that I could use, but I don't get a certification, I've got a certification that could provide me employment opportunity, there's value in that, right? So these are the pros and cons we have to weigh and things we have to think about. It's really important stuff. For me, if I was going to get out of training space and I was going to go into web application testing or just pen testing in general or bug bounties or something, I would probably do this. Percentage-wise, I feel like 95% sure that this would be one of the first things that I would engage in to make myself marketable in that space. It's a very competitive market. So having a competitive edge by having something like a Portswigger certification saying that I am Burp Suite Certified Practitioner, I am a Burp Suite Certified Practitioner, would probably do really well at getting me, because it's got built-in brand recognition, right? Portswigger is well known, Burp Suite is well known, and if I now can say I'm one of the early adopters of their certification, that might pull some weights. That might put me on a list, on the short list of candidates for said position. Again, making it's all about increasing my marketability, my value to an employer by trying to prove stuff. So you kind of have that built in. This, if I created a certification today, nobody would know who that is. Nobody would know what that is. Very small people would. I would have to build that over time, and that organizations would trust my certification. Whereas Portswigger can do this because they already have that trust, right? And so it immediately has a much higher value than something else would. I like that it's practical. I think that's great. I think that's the future of certification exams for the cybersecurity space and hopefully beyond. But and we see that with, again, going back to the idea of TCM and e-learn security, offensive security, all these wonderful practical hands-on exams. And even if you're on the blue team side of things, there's blue team level 1. I think they're getting ready to drop blue team level 2. I love that the cybersecurity world is moving, and they haven't completely moved into that yet, but they are going that way, and eventually that's what it will be completely. So your older certification bodies, the CompTIAs of the world, the EC councils of the world, they either need to get with the times and make their exams practical, or they're going to go the way of the dodo, as that's just the natural order of things. People want hands-on capabilities. These new certifications are giving you that. You can actually say, no, I didn't answer A, B, C, or D. I did the thing. I know how to do the thing. I proved I can do the thing because I did it in the exam and was successful, and I passed, right? So I could guess my way through A, B, C, or D, and maybe I literally in high school, I took an exam cold, did not study whatsoever, just totally flaked out on that thing. And it was a science exam, like a biology exam, I think it was. Literally guessed every question, got 100%. So it is possible to pass exams like that through guessing. And you can't do that with a practical exam. It's the statistical probability of that occurring is so low that it is highly improbable, right? So therefore, I believe, in my estimation, that exams like this have more value because they literally do prove that you have skills. All right, everyone. I think that's enough talking about this thing. Hopefully you're excited about it. I feel like it's a good addition to the certification space in the cybersecurity world. So thank you, Portswigger, for creating this. I think I can't wait to take the practice exam to kind of see what that exam experience is going to be like. And I think I need the Burp Suite Pro. If I need Burp Suite Pro, that means I got to drop some money. And that might mean this is going to take a little longer because I don't have just a $400 cash wad sitting here next to me to buy Burp Suite Pro so I can go take their exam. But we'll see what happens. I'll see what I can do. And as soon as I can, I'm going to. So maybe it won't be my next video. Maybe it'll be down the road a little ways. But as soon as I can take that exam, the practice exam, I'm going to take it. I'll also work my way through the Web Security Academy as soon as I can. I got a lot on my plate right now, so it's going to be a while before I can really get at that stuff. But I will be doing this in the future, so be on the lookout for that stuff and my reviews and my thoughts and opinions on said stuff. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe and share all the other great stuff. Appreciate you watching. And until next time, keep hacking. Have a great day.